There was a time in places like Timbuktu where they would say books were on the level of food. Like the value that knowledge and books had were on the level of food. I would say that internet access is there today. My phone and my laptop, that's my library.
There was a Pew research study that listed Allentown, Pennsylvania, where we reside, as the least connected city in the country for a city of its size. And a lot of that has to do with some of the legislation that prohibits cities from building their own networks. That's one of the reasons. So Allentown has seen a huge spike in the need for internet access. My background was in educational technologies, and after a couple projects I did here in Allentown, just started doing some research on the effects of the lack of internet access.
I think the fact that Allentown is one of the least connected cities for a city of its size is intentional. I think that's happened by design. I don't think it's a mistake. People will talk about the cost to make sure that, so when we talk about connectivity, we're talking about poor people. You know, primarily we're talking about poor people because people of privilege are connected. They have access to internet service, they have access to Wi-Fi. When their children do their homework, they don't have to worry about accessing the resources and websites to support that. We're talking about children within communities of color are not worth the contribution that it takes to provide that. And again, I think that's intentional, it's by design. It's part of a lot of the structural things that we see happening within the city. So there's this question of, do we think it should be a community initiative for Wi-Fi to come versus a company coming in and bringing it? And from Promise Neighborhood perspective, we always prefer for things to come up organically from the community. Okay, so Kevin Easterling has been in Allentown for decades. So he's one of the folks whose shoulders we stand on. He's been doing work around the Center City thrift store, just in general within the community. He's been doing this work, again, for a long time, so.
In our research to find a perfect location to build what we call a community wireless network, we found this thrift store, which was actually operated by a church, and they were trying to get out of the thrift business. So we kind of said, well, look, let's take over the thrift store and we'll build this network. And at the time, we really didn't know how we were going to do it. We had a couple different ideas we were throwing out there. The whole concept is that we push internet from areas that actually have internet access to neighborhoods that don't. So the technology that we've actually developed actually snatches signals out of the air and will actually push them in the direction of neighborhoods that don't have internet access.
So one of the things about the city of Allentown, and when we talk about the city, there are several different cities here. So I'm talking about the urban core. This is a divided city. You have folks who you have the haves and the have-nots, which you have in a lot of cities. But one of the things about Allentown is that a lot of the residents lack 21st century skills, and it's due to access. It's not that they don't have the potential or the ability to utilize these skills and excel. It's that they don't have internet access, they don't have technology, they don't have tools.
If you look from where we're located on Turner and Church, down here would be Linden Street. Once you pass that, this way, there's no free access points. I've actually been in situations where I've seen students by the bus terminal doing their homework because they had to get access. So it's important in all neighborhoods. And not only in urban areas, but in rural areas also.
So you have people that are just struggling with access and resources that are the norm within other communities, and the challenging part of it is we expect them to compete, and we expect them to compete locally, we expect them to compete nationally and also globally, but the race is being run at different. They're coming from a different starting point. There's a huge digital divide, primarily with communities of color, in the urban core of Allentown.
So what we're doing, we're basically trying to galvanize community stakeholders around the issue. We are what you call a digital inclusion advocates. We speak to senators, community stakeholders, philanthropists, and even some of the network providers themselves. So we basically try to work with folks just to tell them more about the issue and help them understand, why the internet, should be. The internet is actually a resource like water, electric, they're utilities. In today's age, you can't do much without the internet, so we're just an advocate to push that.
So you'll hear people talk about they speak for the voiceless. The issue is not that people are voiceless, it's that they're unheard. So people have been asking for Wi-Fi. This is not a new conversation.
Oh, this guy's too funny.